Ohio State wrapped up practice number 4 of 15 in the spring. I'm Stephen, and that's Andrew. Stefan feeling a little bit under the weather. He'll be back, though. We talked with Larry Johnson in the defensive line on Tuesday, and I think, Andrew, there's two intriguing conversations to be had here. There's the C.J. Hicks conversation, and then there's the execution conversation, whether or not both of those guys might be in line for a breakout year, both of which have changed positions at some point in the last 6 months. You were at Edric. What did he have to say about that transition and what it could possibly mean for 2025?
Well, it sounded like it was a choice, which I thought was interesting. It sounded like they presented it to him and said, here's what we're thinking. What do you think? Which I thought was pretty interesting. And, he said, whatever I can do to help the team. And, somebody asked him about basically an interview that he had given in high school where he said, he wanted to be a 4-3 defensive end. And he said, but I kind of framed that in what can I do to help the team? And here it was, what can I do to help the team? And now I think you're starting to see maybe the upside of what a player like that can do on the interior because, those pass rush moves have not gone away. That explosiveness has not really gone away. So that I thought was probably the most interesting part. I think in terms of what he needed to work on, he said strength. Somebody asked him also, when did you feel that? Like, when did you notice that you needed to put on some strength? And he goes, every game. And, I thought that was pretty interesting. And, basically when you transition to that 3 technique, you are obviously taking on 300-pound guards. Sometimes you're taking on double teams. That's a big role, literally and figuratively, for him to take on. So I'm kind of buying stock on Edric Houston. I think we're in for a really, really big year from him. And, you talk to Larry Johnson. Like, I asked him, what do you like about Edric Houston's ceiling at 3-tech? And he said, we like him as a player and he's progressed really well, blah, 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 blah. But then he can be a really special player. And the word special was used, and I thought that was really interesting. So when you talk about him, I pulled him off to the side. He told me he's 6'5", 290 right now. He's listed at 6'3", 270, so we'll see if that changes when we get to fall camp. But he has put on weight. He has put on strength. I think this is a guy who is physically ready to handle the rigors of playing in a 3-technique role for Ohio State. And I think, frankly, when you pair the strength and pair the athleticism together, you're probably feeling really good about what kind of upside he can give you from the inside.
The comparison is Draymond Jones. That's who everybody's going to point to first because Draymond did what Edric Houston is doing, and that start at defensive end and then go inside the defensive tackle where he ended up being a pretty good player here, and now he's in the NFL making a lot of money. Larry Johnson didn't want to go there yet. Understand, it's spring. The guys are still developing and whatnot, so you don't want to necessarily go there yet. But that's what's popping up in my mind is Draymond Jones in 2018, him and Chase Young, what they were doing, especially once Nick Bosa went out with an injury, how those two were able to get off to the passer, Chase on the edge and Draymond Jones on the interior. I talked with C.J. Hicks. And I think the biggest revelation I keep having every time we talk with C.J. Hicks isn't about, is C.J. Hicks going to do the Abdul Carter thing? Is he going to do the Michael Parsons thing? Is he going to be Will Anderson? Maybe, I guess, we'll see. But I do think what's happened is he's found a perfect marriage with Matt Patricia. They had started this process of moving CJ onto the edge during bowl practice in December, and the point was maybe they were going to bring in another coach, and that guy's job was going to be strictly the jack. Whether it was Jim Knowles running the jack step or another coach doing it. But that was before Jim Knowles left. And then Jim Knowles leaves. Obviously, it's time for a new defensive coordinator to come in here. They find Matt Patricia, who just so happens to probably be the best defensive coordinator out there for what C.J. Hicks is. And that's this hybrid outside linebacker, stand-up defensive end who gets after the passer. Willie Anderson was brought up today. A couple other people were brought up today. Thank you. Willie Anderson's an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's Willie Anderson.
I mean, who knows? C.J. Hicks, you can do whatever you want. But Willie McGinnis was brought up today, who obviously played for the Patriots a long time ago. But I just think every time we're in here after practice, we're seeing C.J. Hicks working with Matt Patricia, going through things. We're seeing him work with Larry Johnson, going through things, because he also understands that this has to be urgent. He's got 1 year of college football left, so he can't play around. So he's got to very quickly pick up on things and very quickly apply those things onto the field. Somebody told me he had 5 sacks on Tuesday at practice, and he's kind of having a field day out there. So it feels like Edric Houston and C.J. Hicks have found the perfect homes. Now, can they get home in the fall? Get the text 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. And go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We'll continue to have these conversations talking about Hicks, Edric Houston, and all the other defensive linemen as well. I'm Stephen, that's Andrew. Talk to you guys later.